This is Ray with Easy Simple Mechanic here. Uh, Today episode, looks like we're gonna try and get the rear axle in underneath the frame. Looks like we're gonna try and line up the frame as best as we can. Uh, get the rear axle in to help support the frame, and then try and get things kind of lined up to get it pushed back up underneath the cab. So stay tuned and enjoy the episode. So I guess we're continuing here. I got the frame located underneath where I think it needs to be. As you can see, I've also pulled the 4x4 post out, and I've got a jack stand now holding up the transmission. And so from here, what's next, I'm going to try to do this a little differently because the weight in the front is quite heavy, and if I only lift the back, when I attach the body to the frame, it'll tend to tip forward, and I'm afraid it might just go ahead and come off the jack stands and fall forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the rear axle on this frame to add some weight to the back to counterbalance the front axle and the weight up front, because that seems to be quite a bit heavier. So what I'm going to do first, before actually bolting it up to the frame, is I'm going to go ahead and get this up in the air, and then I'm going to put the rear axle in. I am going to then proceed to go ahead and try and get this exhaust washed. So I got it out, so I'll wash the exhaust, and then we'll try and get it back in there so we can get that done, and then we'll proceed to put the gas tank in, and we'll go from there. But yeah, so that's kind of what I think is going to be the best way to go here. So we'll see. Let me get this frame up in the air so we can try and get this axle in there. What I was going to try and do was to go ahead and put the exhaust on first before I put the axle in, so it would be easier to get the axle in underneath it. The problem is that I don't want to be underneath the frame without any tires under it or jack stands under it. So just for safety reasons, I prefer to get something solid underneath it. Sorry for the noise on the vehicles going by. But so let me try and get this axle underneath it, and then we'll go ahead and go from there. If we get the axle underneath it, then we can go ahead and try and line it up, and with the wheels on it, it'll also give me the opportunity to roll it forwards and backwards as I need to before I run it up against the body. So it still gives me the flexibility, instead of using the little dollies. When I get it up in the air, it'll still give me the opportunity to roll it forwards and backwards. And I'll use the dollies in the front to kind of guide that either left or right if I need to. At least I'll have the wheels on it in the back, and that'll give me a better opportunity for being able to move this where I need it. I think it's really close now, so I'm going to try and do that, and then we'll bring it up against the cab and see how it lines up. Let's go with that, and we'll check back with you later. So I wanted to show you that we've got this thing kind of setting, and sorry for the sun there, got setting kind of underneath the frame. I did tell you before that I found that these brakes were pretty worn, so I went ahead and I pulled them off, and you can see I've got some acid on the discs and everything. They're starting to clean up pretty good, so we'll get all that rust off of there and get some new pads on there. I've also got everything kind of lined up. I have the back end, the axle back on, so we put that on there. What else? We already tied in the the brake lines back in. So we've got those back on there. Let's see, I sprayed a little bit of the etching acid on the rust back here. It's starting to work its thing. This thing here, I don't know, came from an area where they had a little bit of rust, I guess, because this ain't that old vehicle. But we're trying to get it restored back to somewhat of a Southwest kind of vehicle without too much issues. So we've got that kind of set up and done. What I did do, and I haven't mounted the cab up yet for one specific reason. I was ready to go ahead and bring the frame up and bolt it up when I noticed something and I forgot all about it, and I'm going to have to wait until I can get to the dealer to pick one up. And that is this broken dipstick. Is as you can see, the tube right there is broken, and I was thinking I could do that with the engine installed, but as I thought more about it, it's going to be tough to get to. So I decided let's try and get it out. And what I found out on these Raptors, especially the 6.2, is that the dipstick tube is, let me get it down in there where you can see where it's sitting. There it is. Let's see, I hope you guys can see that. I don't know if you guys can see the dipstick tube up. Where are you? There you are, right there. And as you can see, I've already tried to get that out, and the thing is all rusted up. So it wasn't an easy thing to pull off, and I had to take the motor mount on this side, to the passenger side. I had to take it loose from the block to be able to get in there, because it goes behind it. Goes in between the intake manifold here. You can see it goes from up here, goes in between the the exhaust manifold, sorry. It goes down, and then it goes down there, and so it goes in behind this motor mount. You can see the motor mount here. I took it loose to be able to get up in there and get to that dipstick tube. You can see it right there. And I tried a few things already. I've soaked it in some PV Blaster. I'm hoping it'll come loose, but from the looks of it, I'm gonna have to struggle getting that thing off. And I'm just glad that I didn't put everything together and then have to come back and get this motor mount off and get this engine raised and all that to try and get it off from underneath and all that. So before we go any further with mounting this frame back up to the block and to the body, we're gonna have to get that dipstick tube changed out. Unfortunately, today is Sunday, and I'm gonna have to wait till tomorrow where I can go to the dealer and try and find one of those. You can't find these, at least not for this, at the aftermarket, which is your regular stores. So there's a couple things I'm gonna try. Right now I haven't been able to get any movement out of that dipstick tube, so I'm gonna try and cut it off, and then what I'm gonna try and do is pinch it, roll it up, probably with a pair of ice grips or something, and then I'm going to try and use an air hammer on it or chisel on it to try and get it to vibrate loose. If I can't get it loose, then I might have to use the other method, which is a tap into the tube and try to get the tap to hold on to it while you press it out with a bolt, or a nut, and a socket or something like that. I'm not sure yet. I'm hoping that this thing will come loose, but that's gonna be my challenge today before we can really move forward. So I got several things that I need to do. I'm gonna go ahead and get these brakes all cleaned up and get some new pads on the front. I'm going to change that Tor boot on the steering, on the rack and pinion steering, and then I'm going to try and get this dipstick tube off. So we'll work on that, and then I'm going to get this exhaust. We got the exhaust out here. I'm going to get, since it had mud stuck up on the top of it and was starting to rust up, I'm going to get that mud off of it and get this this exhaust treated so that it'll start working on that rust as well before we put it back together. If I still have some time, then we're going to go ahead and work on that other piece that we talked about, which is the core support, and get it prepared. Now, remember that I said that somebody turned me into code enforcement, so I decided to go ahead and try and get the frame back up there with some wheels on it. So if we have to move it, we will. So what I may have to do is I may have to put just cut the, what is it, the battery tray holder or support, or the fender support, cut that off where I need to have it and stuff, and go ahead and install the other one up there. Or I may have to separate the core support part, the bottom part, and put that on there, and then leave the pieces the way they are. Go ahead and mount it up and bolt and get it set up with the other side, and then leave this one off, and then later I'll cut off that fender support and replace that piece. So it's a little bit more work, but I need to get this frame up there and get some wheels on it so that I can get a bed on it. I know there's some body damage we need to take care of, so I didn't really want to put the bed back on it yet. I need to get this fender off. But once I get wheels on it and all, and I can move it around, then they shouldn't have too much more of an issue with this thing sitting in the driveway looking like this. These neighbors not real happy about this situation. So it's been a challenge, but hey, once I explained to code enforcement what I was trying to do and the value of this, they understood, so they gave me just a little bit more time. So hopefully we can get that done. But the progress is what they want to see, and so they're seeing some progress here with the wheels, tires, axles, frame underneath the truck, no longer a frame in the driveway. So as soon as I can get the frame bolted up to the engine and the cab back on it, and I can get rid of that A-frame piece, I think that'll really do it. We'll be able to, once I get these brakes on and everything, we'll be able to put the front tires back on it. Once we got all the tires and everything on it, the front piece here is not really visible from the street, so we can start working on the front if we need to. Then that way, hopefully, folks won't be too upset with me if I get some of this stuff out of the way. So that's going to be the work that we got going for today. I'm hoping this is a benefit to you all. This is a different way of doing things, but when you don't have a lift and you need to get something like this done, it can be done. That's what I'm showing you, and I hope some of you get a benefit from this. And it's not just the Raptor, but I think any vehicle that has a frame could probably be done similar to this. So hopefully this helps some folks with that. May still need to go ahead and lower the frame back down some to get to that dipstick tube as well, because I set it up on jack stands for now to get underneath it. I went ahead and installed the sway bar is bolted up. I got everything under there kind of tightened up and wrapped up. And yesterday it rained all day and stuff, so we weren't able to work. That's another thing you'll run into, is the weather has a big impact on when you can work and when you don't work. So just FYI, if you're going to do this in your driveway, it may take a little longer than you anticipated to get all this done. You know, it's too bad this thing didn't fit inside the garage, but anyway, hey, it can be done, and you probably need the room anyways to be able to get a frame out and get it back in there. So unless you got a big shop, which, you know, not everybody has, then, you know, that's kind of the stuff that you have to deal with. Well, folks, I think that's going to do it for now. We got quite a bit done. Stay tuned to the next episode, and I hope you enjoyed. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you here next episode. Thank you. Have a good day.